RTFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
Oof. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's Saturday night. This is our last broadcast of the week, as it works, because it's the last night of the week, so that's how it all rolls. But I hope you guys are having a great night, and thank you so much for spending it here with me. I'm Brent Thomas, your host, and hopefully we'll have an epic journey into the Paranormal Portal tonight. It's always, unplanned and unrehearsed, of course, so you never know exactly what's going to happen on every show, because I don't know what's going to happen on every show, but I like to have a good time on these live streams. It's just kind of kick back and have some laughs and have a good time with it. The paranormal's dark enough as it is, so we just like to take it light and low and just have a good time. I am the sole host of the show tonight, no co-host tonight, other than all of you out there. So if you're watching me and you want to participate in the conversation, if you're in the chats, just capitalize your chat, at least make it big. That way I'm more likely to see it. Or if you're on YouTube, you can put at Paranormal Portal and it'll make a big box around it. And sometimes that helps me to see too. Although on this new chat that I'm using, it doesn't really differentiate those special characters so well. But just capitalize it and I'll have a better chance of seeing it. But once again, thank you all for coming in and spending part of your, everybody loves their weekend. So the fact that you guys kick back here with me is just extra special. So I really appreciate that. And hopefully you're not disappointed. Hopefully you don't think it was a waste of your time. Hello, Brent and folks. Hi, Diane. Hi, Flyer Tuck. Lucky Gypsy's come in. Good to see you, Lucky Gypsy. And Rachel's in here. Wizard Moon. Let's see, Maggie. Who else is here? Deb Varner, our very own Paranormal Portal Psychic, is here. Anybody else? I'm just going through the chat quick as we're just opening up. And people continue to trickle in for quite a while here. So I know there's a lot of shows happening on Friday, Saturday nights on YouTube especially. And, I'm sure everywhere. But yeah, it's just wonderful to see you guys come in and take part in all of this. We got a lot of things going on. Anyone else coming? Grumpy Owl came in. Good to see you, Grumpy Owl. Thanks so much. And more will be in the door, I'm sure. Oh, David Zeismer, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for coming in as well. It's great to see you all. And as more and more come in. Anyway, we got a lot to get to tonight, as always. I got more abbreviated version of the news tonight because, well, there's just a couple new stories to cover since we've been, we covered extra last night because there was kind of a lot more to go through last night. But we'll hit those two stories. We'll take a look during the news at this day in history and see what the hell is going on. And then we'll get back. We're going to do the question of the week from our Discord community, as well as the Cryptid Corner and some articles dealing with actually some possibilities of life in our own solar system. So we'll check that out as well. Got a lot on the buffet here for you guys. So we'll get to all of it. Yeah, good to. I know my cousin Paul is out there listening from Tennessee. So thanks for tuning in, brother, and great to have you here with us as always. So I think that's about it on the front end. So other than that, buckle up, sit back, grab a libation, make yourself comfortable. You can chat if you want to. If you want to just kick back and relax, you can do that too. So, all right, let's start it all out. Let's get to some news because I'm about to news you up. You're going to get newsed right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, and we're going to dive into a couple news stories and then take a look at what's happened this day in history. I found those kind of interesting. I mean, I'm not a real history buff, but it is kind of interesting. And each day something I'm interested in happened, so that's kind of neat. So, first up, let's get to the articles from unexplained-mystery.com. I got a couple of them tonight, and please support this site. As always, support all the sites that we cover on the shows. These sites are working hard. They're doing amazing jobs, and they need your help. They need your traffic. So definitely steer yourself over to these. Give them some clicks and help them out. So, first story tonight, and this one's interesting. I don't think I'd heard of this, but this is dealing with the UFO phenomena on unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is audio. I don't know what the audio colon part is. There's audio file maybe included in the article. And I'll put the article in the chat if you guys want to check it out. But this is pilots discuss sightings of triangular UFO formation over Canada. I don't think I've heard of this formation unless it's, I don't know. There's a lot of the UFO history that I'm not really familiar with. But let's see. It says, back in January, multiple pilots, just this last month, witnessed mysterious lights in a triangle formation over the Canadian prairies. They say that pilots make some of the best witnesses when it comes to UFO sightings, and that's one of the reasons why this recent incident, which involved multiple pilots all seeing the same thing on the same morning, is so intriguing. It all happened in the early hours of January 19th between 4:20 a.m. and 6 a.m. A 13-minute audio clip listed below, which has been edited down from several hours of chatter, captures the conversation between the pilots and air traffic control officers concerning the phenomena. I'm certainly no expert there, but they're moving side to side and then going away from each other and then forming triangles, one of the pilots can be heard saying. Yeah, it's quite bizarre, another replied. There's around 6 of them just randomly in formation flying at a high altitude at 12 o'clock. In total, the crews of 4 separate aircraft reported seeing the lights, which were typically visible high above them at altitudes of up to 100,000 feet? Wow. Way beyond the range of any conventional vehicle. In addition, 2 other air crews later reported seeing something similar during recent flights in the same area. Yeah, same thing too, movement all over. Sometimes they make a triangle, sometimes they make a diamond and square. One pilot recalled, they're bright and they just appear all over. The sightings were later documented in Transport Canada's online aviation incident database. You can listen to the pilot audio for yourself below. Obviously, I'm not going to play that just because it's an audio file. It's not so much video. And I will, however, put a link to this in the chat, and you guys can check it out. Both on YouTube and Twitch. This will appear in the chats. Whoops, wrong thing. And you can check them out. Maybe it's pretty interesting. It sounds really interesting. At 100,000 feet, that's a whole different level of aviation. Generally speaking, commuter airplanes and stuff travel 30 to 40,000 feet on their cruising altitudes, and so they don't go that high. They just don't do it. So it's either some military deal or it's not ours at all. So whatever the case is, that's the report. I'm not familiar with it. That's brand new to me. So very interesting. However, let's get done with that one. If you didn't know about that, you're welcome. I like the fact that sometimes we introduce things that most of us haven't heard of. Even me. I mean, I don't claim to be the most informed person in the world, but
Elephant.
The ghost box says elephant. What's the elephant in the room? I don't know if that's what it's referring to. I don't know. That's one of those random words. It's like, what the hell does elephant mean? It's not elephants. I don't know. So sometimes the ghost box is kind of accurate and on, and other times it's just random as hell. It's like, okay, elephants. All right. This one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen. And this one is police called out after inert nuclear missile was found in a man's garage. Oh my God. Oof. How did it get inert? Where's the warhead or whatever? Oh no. Let's see what this says. The authorities were alerted to the owner of the missile attempted to donate it to a military museum. Oh, they were alerted after he tried to donate it to a museum. Wow. Where'd he come up with it? It's not unusual to find old car parts, rusted bicycles, old boxes, and other junk stuffed away in the back of someone's garage. To find a nuclear missile, on the other hand, is a different story altogether. When a man in Bellevue, Washington, recently offered to donate an inert nuclear missile to a military museum in Ohio, the first thing the museum did was call the police. When the officers arrived at the donor's home, they discovered that there really was an old rusted nuclear missile in the man's garage, though fortunately it was missing its nuclear warhead. The bomb squad was even called to the property to ensure that there was no danger to the public. According to a blog post on the Bellevue Police Department's website, the donor of the missile had actually acquired it from his deceased neighbor, who had bought it at an estate sale. Bomb squad members inspected the object and then learned that it was in fact a Douglas AIR or Air-2 Genie. Previous designation was an MB-1, an unguided air-to-air rocket that is designed to carry a 1.5 kiloton W-25 nuclear warhead. The department wrote there was no warhead attached. The donor himself was reportedly extremely irritated by all the media coverage received. Because the item was inert and the military did not request it back, police left the item with the neighbor to be restored for display in a museum. The department wrote, with a neighbor, why not with a guy? I don't understand that. There's a picture of it again. Wow. I don't know what to make of that. That's just bizarre. I don't know. Maybe it was never connected to a warhead. Maybe it was just a training missile or something, but that's still weird. That's still not what you'd want to find in your garage. Crazy. The scary version is that somebody did remove the warhead and that's out there somewhere. Eesh. That's creepy. Well, let's hope not. I don't know. You'd think the military would want it back to make sure that it wasn't something that they were missing for a number of years, but God only knows. They probably don't know what they're missing, to be honest with you. I don't know how organized the military is, but I know they've lost planes and stuff recently, so that's kind of scary. Anyway, what do I know? I'm just a YouTube channel news guy. So there it is. That's that one. And now let's get to this day in history and find out just what happened this day in history. So today was February 3rd, is February 3rd. And so far, the 15th Amendment to the U.S. was ratified today. And that's in very small font. These small fonts are getting harder and harder for me. Where's the zoom? There it is. There it is. There, that's much happier. Much happier font size, ladies and gentlemen. All right, on this day in 1870, the 15th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States was ratified, guaranteeing the right to vote, regardless of race, and intended to ensure with the 14th Amendment the civil rights of former slaves. Oh, that's cool. That's a good thing. So first, Alberto Gonzalez was the first Hispanic was Attorney General, yeah, and that was in 2005. And then there's the first female astronaut pilot, which was Eileen Collins in 1995 today. What happened? She was the first woman to pilot the space shuttle. She became the first. Yeah. Okay. 1975. Oh, she flew Discovery. Now, wasn't Discovery the one that broke up on return or something like that? Wasn't there a big issue with that? Like it was nerfed in orbit somehow? I know there's some videos out there that claim to be the Discovery. And if it is, man, that thing got really blasted. Egyptian singer Kulthum was one of the most famous Arab singers and public personalities in the 20th century. She died in Cairo in 75. In 1960, La Dolce Vita was released, and it was hailed as one of the most important films in cinema. In 1959, American rock and roll singer Buddy Holly was killed in a plane crash at age 22. 1924, Woodrow Wilson died at 67, President Woodrow Wilson. 1917, not involved in World War I, the United States broke off diplomatic relations with Germany after the Germans announced their intentions to practice unrestricted submarine warfare, which they did quite a bit. 1913, 16th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States granting Congress the authority to levy income taxes. Or this one. And 1894, the first American steel ship, the Dirigo, was launched from Bath, Maine. And 1874, Gertrude Stein was I guess she had a salon or something in Paris. It was very famous. 1865, President Lincoln met with the southern states to offer some amnesty prior to the launch of the Civil War, but the offer was rejected. 1811, American newspaper editor Horace Greeley was known as the most persuasive anti-slavery voices in the antebellum North. He was born in Amherst, New Hampshire, on this day in 1811. In 1690, God, these go back way back. Massachusetts first issued paper money in the American colonies. 1468, this is the oldest entry. German craftsman, inventor, and printer Johannes Gutenberg, whose printing press was considered a history-changing invention, died in Mainz. I don't know how to pronounce that. Mainz. All right. There you go. That was this day in history according to Britannica.com, which is, I'm pretty sure it's Encyclopedia Britannica, but now it's just Britannica. So anyway, there you have it. Now you know. So that's going to wrap it up for the news tonight. Hope you guys feel like you got an education and maybe learned some things and are a little more well-rounded than you were before. I don't know. All right, let's get back to the rest of the show. Trusted news, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it with that. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I like doing the news. That's always fun. Something always new and different. So one thing I got to ask you guys, those of you out there listening to me, and this is important because I did tweak the volume again today because I listened back to last night's play episode, and it was better, but I think it needed more. So is my voice more clear tonight? Are you hearing me better than last night or before when it was really, really low? Are you guys hearing me okay? Because I don't want to get more comments from people like, I couldn't listen. It was too quiet. I tried to crank it up. It didn't work. Your voice is too quiet. So loud and clear, Deb says. Good. Thank you, Deb. I appreciate that. Everyone else? Anyone else? Just the more feedback, the better on this, because I can't test the stream for myself. It's you guys are the ones out there. Loud and clear. Wizard says, I don't have any problems. It's good. Maggie says clear. Jason G. All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I just want to make sure that the music isn't way louder than me, and or vice versa. Good sound, Barbara Morris says. Thank you, Barbara. Digger Dog says, Brent. Hi, Digger Dog. Good to see you. Can hear you great, Karen says. Thank you. I appreciate that, Karen. Sounds great in Twitch. Thank you, Lucky Gypsy. Appreciate that. I just, I always want to give you guys the best shows I can. And after an update, that the sound settings were tweaked again. And so I didn't realize that when we did a couple shows anyway, maybe a couple, 3 shows. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate that. Okay, good. All right, we'll count that as a win. This is a win. Sounds like you guys can hear me, and that's 90% of the battle. If you can hear me, now, do you like what you hear? That's the next question. So you let me know after the show in the comments. All right, let's get to the next segment, which is one I've been really enjoying for quite a while now. And it's just been a great opportunity to hear from you guys, your opinions on some of this weird stuff we talk about on the shows. And again, special thanks to Chucky Danger, who has been spearheading this effort and doing so on our Discord server, which is, if you're into Discord and you don't already know about it, please join the Paranormal Portal Discord. Love to have you over there and be part of the discussions. I haven't looked at it for a few days really well, so I should probably do that quick. But before I do that, let's go to here, and then let's do this. It's time for the Discord question of the week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Discord question of the week, where we dive into questions that we ask you. Again, Chucky's been doing a great job with this. Thank you so much, Chucky. I just want to see if anyone new joined. Annikers joined. Good to see you, Annikers. Thank you for joining our Discord. That's wonderful. And also, Animal Annie came in. Good to see you, Animal Annie. Thank you so much for joining. She just landed and said hello to herself. What's next? Oh, also Mac44, #4444. All right, Mac, welcome. Great to see you as well. 3 new people. That's good. There's a lot of new things here. Wow. I got to get over here more often. All right, so this is what we're doing tonight, though. This is our Discord question of the week, brought to us by Chucky Danger, who has been doing this for us. And this is where we ask you guys a question, and you guys tell us what you think. And honestly, the reason is and I've been really repeating this a lot, but I do want to say, you guys always hear what I think because I got a microphone, but it's nice to hear what you guys think. And honestly, your takes have been brilliant. I've really been blown away by many, many of these, and everybody's had good feedback. So thank you to everybody that participates in these. So the question of the week tonight from Chucky Danger is, since the dawn of civilization, man has been obsessed with astrology and the meaning behind the celestial movements. Royalty has even had their own personal astrologers for inspiration. I'm not talking about the modern newspaper horoscope, but the much older beliefs. Do you think there is something to this, or is it just a matter of superstition? I think it's a great question. Some people swear by their astrology, and other people think it's a bunch of bunk. So let's see what you guys had to say. Answer, I'm not sure about astrology, says Hallelujah Goat. But think in the beginning, the stars were one of their tools. Just like we have tools for navigation, keeping important dates, etc., they didn't have all the BS tech tools that we have and are addicted to today. I'm sure they were connected way more to their natural environment than we are, and I bet the stars were one of their greatest tools. Like, oh look, Orion's moving across the sky that way. We better get going that way. And that's where we'll get our hands on those elk. Or that the star is their time to put in the crops. I don't know, but I guess they were used like that when Was astrology and time invented by us in order to attract dates? I don't know. That's a great question. And my thoughts, who knows? He says hashtags. Great thoughts, Hallelujah Goat. I think certainly they've been utilized in that manner. Definitely for, seasons and such, for tracking the passage of time and the seasons. But is there more to that? Is there more to what they're doing? Colleen Bow says, there's definitely something with astrology. All you have to do is look in the Bible to see that's how the 3 wise men found Jesus. Well, that's a good point. They followed the bright star in the north. That's a good point. Some people have suggested that star was a UFO. I don't know. I wasn't there that I know of. All right, next up is Marie. There's definitely something about astrology, much more than my tiny mind will probably ever comprehend. I know the lunar phases affect everything from women's cycles to the tides and fishing conditions. And I've seen that firsthand coming from a fishing family and married to a commercial fisherman now. When my father studied for his captain's license in the 80s, he had to learn to navigate using the stars. It's all a part of nature, and there are some who have learned to interpret the meaning of phases and planet alignment. I've felt off at times for no reason, and then almost magically better the next week, only to learn that something along the lines of Mercury has been retrograding all month. But I ramble on a bit, so next. Those are great thoughts, Marie. I think they're absolutely really spot on. But is it possible to tell what your future is based on the stars? That's interesting. Chasing Mound Builders comes in 12 months, 12 realms, 12 strands of DNA originally. Corporations even use the 360-day year and tune the Mayans would call it, to track sales, etc. Not every company, obviously, but there's a reason for that. 12 is powerful. Sure, 12 is powerful. All right, great thoughts. Arc Blaster comes in next. Not sure the planets really have an effect on one's personality, to be honest. The moon, the sun, the planet Earth sure do, but the rest? Perhaps it's more complex, like gravity, season, harvest, diet, parental influence, and even personal experiences, which really affect us or affect our lives. Really good question. Yeah, I think so too. Great thoughts, Arc Blaster. All right, Maggie comes in next. I think there's something less understood to the ancient practices, but I don't know enough about astrology to give an answer. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm not really that familiar with how it all works either, but I know there's houses and there's majors and minors and there's moon cycles and all of it along with the star motions and the time of year. So I don't know. It's crazy stuff. Karen Alberting comes in next. Says, I have mixed feelings about astrology. I've had my chart done and basically I don't fit my sun sign much at all. I fit my moon and rising sign much more than the rest I get. I just get confused. I don't really understand it completely and just figure I'm more a product of my environment and upbringing than my astrological sign. So I do somewhat think there's an effect. It's very little. I do somewhat think there's an effect. It's very little. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's certainly possible. I don't pretend to have the answers either, but I think it's interesting. All right, Rachel 101 comes in next. It can be considered a very old art or technique. When the stars were our guides at night, our ancestors looked up for all the tools and weapons we had. The silent stars guided us. We're in different areas for each new birth. It evolved to become something powerful in belief, and in belief there is something real. Some may regard it as a superstition, though. Yeah, good points. That's true. There's thoughts that many real primitive cultures thought that those were the other campfires up in the sky, maybe from the ancestors. So the stars have always been regarded as powerful and important. David Zeismer comes in and says, I'd like to think that everyone has their own beliefs in superstition. I think you're right, David. I do. I really do. Now, here's my take on it. I will say that astrology has been around forever, and I've seen some incredibly powerful, scary, accurate charts, and I've also seen others that maybe are less so. I don't know. Getting your chart done, I think, is the only, if you really want to look into whether there's something to it or not, getting your chart done can really be insightful. Do all those celestial bodies affect us? Probably to some degree, because I believe we're all interconnected, even on a quantum level. We're connected to all those stars out there and all of what's happening in the cosmos in some manner. I don't think that we're on this distant floating island all on ourselves. I think that consciousness is linked, and all things are conscious to some degree. And that might sound really silly, but I think there's truth to that, because I think that if indeed the divine created all things, whatever the divine means to you, however you interpret that, then all things are connected to the divine, including us. And in the I think it was in Genesis, talking about the lights in the firmament, that they'll be used for signs and seasons. And I think the signs part is an important. What does that mean? Well, it could just mean the motion of time, but it could mean more than that. I don't know. It's up to you guys to come to your own conclusions, and I certainly don't pretend to have any. I think it's interesting, and I also believe that if you believe in something, it becomes real to you. So of course the power of faith is a big integral component to things like astrology. If you believe in it, if you believe in the power of that in your life, then it becomes powerful. If you don't believe in it, then it becomes much less important and much less impactful. Now, by my astrological sign, I'm a Taurus, but I'm a very atypical Taurus because, I mean, in some ways I'm very typical, but in a lot of ways I seem to be, at least as I look at myself and I read what Tauruses are supposed to represent. Some of it is true. I'm very stubborn, but others are less true in that, there's talk of, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to go into details, but I find myself to be not quite a true fit to the Taurus thing. But, anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I think if you believe in it, it can be a very powerful thing for you. And if you don't believe in it, it's just entertainment, like a clipping in the newspaper. But I don't think that you can really look to a newspaper clipping for any true guidance. I think if you really want to pursue astrology, then you got to get a chart done that's based on your birth date, your birth time, and your birthplace, because all those things are important to do a truly accurate chart. So, yeah, I think there's something to it. I've seen, again, I've had a charts done, and I find some of them to be like, wow, that's very insightful. How could the stars say that? And how could that be known? It's just, one of those things. Maybe it's just the law of averages. If they spit out enough stuff, something's going to click. I don't know. But I think it's cool. So thank you to everybody that weighed in on this. And thank you to Chucky for putting the question of the week out there. Very cool. I thought it was fantastic. Very nice. So this has been the question of the week. All right, I got to clear this first. There we go. And then click this. All right. We're up to 37 people in here right now. Well, hopefully more people come in. I like it when we get a big crowd. I mean, I love all you guys, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of exciting when, we get up to the 60, 70, 80 mark. It's like, ooh, people are here. They care. I don't know. I'm a bit worldly. What can I say? I'm working hard here, just trying to entertain you. I'll be a Scorpio too. Scorpios are cool. My BFF is one, and so is my stepdad. Phoenix Energy. Gotcha, Grumpy. Very cool. Yeah. There you go. I'm just looking at the chat to see if I missed anything, because you guys have been talking away. Like it says, Jason G says, geese and other migratory birds and even polar bears while swimming use stars to navigate. But yeah, Jesus is God and is astrology. How about that? My son's a Taurus, she says. Yeah, good kid, huh? Us Tauruses, we're good people generally. I think. I mean, there can be jerks that are Tauruses too, don't get me wrong. Yeah. So, Neil from Minnesota. I live in Germany now, but originally from Minnesota. Well played, Neil. I'm originally from Minnesota too. I'm in the north of Idaho now, but yeah. Minnesota's a fantastic place to grow up for me. I really loved it. Karen, she's amazed she made it on time. Just listened at first. Had to help hubby to bed. Took my son out to dinner for his birthday. Oh, nice. Happy birthday to your son, Karen. Very cool. Just taking a moment to see what you guys are talking about, see if I missed something. I'm just trying to scroll back down now. All right. Yep, my son's an awesome nerd. Well, we all love nerds. Or is he a nerd or a geek? He must, there's a distinction. All right, so let's continue on then. Hope you guys like the Discord question of the week. I really enjoy that, and I really do hope more of you guys join, those hearing the sound of my voice. We just love having you guys over there. Are soft under that bullish demeanor. Yeah. Big hearts. Oh, that's a nice. Thank you, Lucky Gypsy. I hope I got a big heart. I mean, I try to be a loving person. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, Brent, we did an interview. Oh, yeah, that's right, Neil. Sorry. That's right. I think is that live now? Is that the live podcast now, Neil? Is that right? I think it is. I might be, I don't know. I know we did it just recently though. Yeah. I didn't forget. I don't ever forget. It's all in here somewhere. But if you know the noise that goes on in my head all the time, it's just like, there's so much going on in my head and it drives me crazy a lot of times. But anyway, yeah. No, I didn't forget you. Yeah, it's up now. Yeah, it was a good episode, Neil. I had a good talk with you. Neil was the interviewee on the podcast that is live now. So thank you. And, just as a statement of possibility, if any of you out there listening to me have paranormal encounters of your own and you wouldn't mind being a guest on the podcast, just send me an email at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or visit paranormalportal.net and click the button that says interview me. And that'll give you a calendar app, and which is when I do interviews, and you can decide your own day and time. I do interviews Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday are my available days for doing interviews. So, and there's a few hours each day in there. So if you find a day that works for you and you want to tell me your stories, I'd love to talk to you and record it. So anyway, just a possibility. All right. So, let's see. What shall we do next? I guess we'll get to some of these articles. This one looked really cool. We've been talking about life possibly being here on Earth from other planets, and I think that's an interesting possibility. I mean, I don't know. You got to wonder if people that you've either known or have met could possibly be from somewhere else, and how would you know? And I don't know. I don't know what the answers are, because I think they can probably appear like pretty close to us in a lot of cases anyway, so it might be really hard to tell. But where are they from? Well, this is another possibility. I don't think I might have heard mumblings of this, and maybe many of you had too. I didn't really give it much credence, but there's a big picture on the first part of the article. This is coming from curiosmos.com, and this is by Ivan Petricevic, and he does a great job on this site, and curiosmos.com is full of a lot of ancient Egyptian stuff and a lot of UFO and other life out there stuff. So it's a great site full of a lot of information. And if you want to learn about the pyramids and some of the scuttlebutt about those, this is a great site. Curiosmos is really chock full of it. So stop in and visit it. I was going to I did already, didn't I? I put a link to that article. Yeah, I did. Well, I'll put a link to this article in there too if you want to check it out or look into it further. But this is from curiosmos.com, and it is leading astronomer says higher forms of alien life on Jupiter's moon Europa. Now, I assume this is a picture of Europa, and I gotta say that all those look like tracks. And roads. I mean, they look like roads. They're kind of bizarre, though, because there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason why they would go on one road versus any of these other ones. I mean, it looks like there's some organization here. It's very curious, but let's see what the article says. I've never seen that picture before, so that really kind of throws me. It's like, yeah, it does really look like roads, but why would would they drive cars, or have, the wheeled vehicles? I don't know. It's weird, but anyway, maybe it's tunnels. Maybe it's all tunnel systems for all we know that are just having an effect on the surface. I don't know. Let's check it out and see what it says. When it comes to the prospects of life beyond Earth, it's almost erasing certainty that there's life beneath the ice on Europa. Oh, so those are just cracks then. They're probably just cracks. Never mind. The Chancellor at Liverpool Hope University in the United Kingdom believes that it is likely that there are forms of alien life living on Jupiter's moon, Europa. Yeah, so I had a total wrong take on this. I forgot that it was an ice. Basically, there's an oceans underneath all that. Yeah, I forgot all about that. According to a statement, Monica Grady, the Chancellor at Liverpool Hope University, says that higher life forms are likely to exist on Europa. I wonder what she means by higher, though. Like whales or dolphins, or does she mean like squid people? Speaking about the possibility of alien life within the confines of our solar system, the Chancellor revealed that if there's life on Mars, it's likely to be microscopic. But on Europa, on the other hand, there could be complex forms of life. Okay, so she just means more macrobiological and not microbiological. Okay. If there's something on Mars, it's likely to be very small, bacteria, Grady explained, but I think we've got a better chance of having slightly higher forms of life on Europa, perhaps similar to the intelligence of an octopus. And octopus are actually very smart for animals, like scary smart. When it comes to the prospects of life beyond Earth, why am I reading that again? On the ice of Europa. Professor Grady suggests that hydrothermal vents on the moon's ocean floor, combined with sodium chloride in Europa's salty water, boost alien life prospects there. Elsewhere, if there's going to be, why are we doing this? They're repeating the same line like 4 times. It says it's going to be under the surface of the planets. There you're protected from solar radiation, and that means there's the possibility of ice remaining in the pores of the rocks, which could act as a water source. If there is something on Mars, it's likely to be very small. Yeah, we talked about that. Jupiter's moon, Europa, is one of the main candidates in the solar system to sustain life as we know it, and Grady argues that complex alien creatures could inhabit the glacial oceans that exist beneath the massive ice shell of ice. And though to be more than 20 kilometers thick, I think that supposed to mean thought to be more than 20 kilometers thick on the alien moon. The idea that Europa hosts life isn't something new. Astronomers have long speculated that the distant alien moon hosts life in the deep subsurface oceans known to exist on the moon. The idea that these subsurface oceans host life isn't surprising. Evidence of that is a recent NASA announcement, which revealed that experts are completing the final stages of a mission expected to launch to Jupiter's moon Europa, dubbed the Europa Clipper. This new mission is designed to look for signs of life specifically. Although Grady believes that higher forms of life could exist in places like Europa when it comes down to alien beings, similar to humans, the scientist is not convinced. I'm fairly certain that we're all there is at our level of intelligence in this planetary system. In this one, she says. So that's fair. Grady explained, and even if there are octopuses, is it octopi? It should be octopi. Even if there are octopi on Europa, that doesn't give us a reason to destroy our planet. Well, nobody's thinking we should just wreck this and let's find another. None of us normal people are. Europa is of Jupiter's 79 known moons and is believed to be covered in a layer of ice more than 15 miles thick. The massive ice barrier is believed to protect the moon's interior, a vast ocean, from harmful radiation from space. Well, there you go. What do you guys think? Could there be life on there? Well, God, how much light could get in there then if it was 15 miles thick of ice? I mean, even in our own oceans, which are, absolutely exposed to perfectly sunny skies, you go a certain depth down, there's no light, nothing at all, no traceable life at all. So how would light get through 15 miles of ice, which is translucent, but it is also a huge barrier with maybe some, snow and stuff on top of it, which would diffuse that already weaker light from being Jupiter, which is further away from the sun. So I don't know. Could life develop with absolutely no light? I mean, life can survive when it's in low light conditions or no light conditions, because I think those are adapted organisms from, something else that maybe wasn't that deep, so I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but that's crazy. What do you guys think? I don't know. It's crazy. Whatever it is, it's pretty wild stuff. So that was that article. I think it's interesting. Life. Maybe, do you guys think there's more life in our solar system? I mean, when I say life, I don't just mean, like microbes and stuff. I mean, like more complex life. Do you think there's might be other locations that have more complex life? Is that possible? And the reason I ask is because even on the face of our Earth, in what would normally be considered absolutely void conditions for life, there is life that springs forth, including like submerged volcanic vents that are several hundreds of degrees, like over boiling water. I mean, it's just so hot. But they found bacterium that have emerged, and maybe always have, but we finally discovered them. There are bacteria and life forms like that exist in these volcanic vents, which doesn't seem like it'd be possible, but apparently it is. And what other forms of life could develop, where you wouldn't think there'd be any? Well, deep cave systems have, lots of life that is adapted and evolved to not have eyesight, but, maybe operate on its other senses because there's no light. And so it's interesting. Sir David Attenborough just did a video on bioluminescent creatures and plants, much more common than we first thought. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like to see that because I think bioluminescence is amazing. Of course, it's beautiful too. Very cool, Chucky. Thank you. Absolutely believe there's life on other planets. But in our solar system, Diane? Do you think? So maybe it's not life like we would recognize it. We think of everything in terms of carbon base and stuff. But what if there's other base life? What if there's, nitrogen based life or other, developed bodies of some kind? I don't know. It is interesting. I don't know. Interesting, Wizard says, I wonder if anything lives in or on the sun. Yeah, I don't know. If it could, that'd be a whole different thing. I wonder if it did, I'm sure it couldn't leave because, of course, it would require that heat then if that's where it developed. Yes, in our solar system. Okay, cool, Diane. Very cool. Microbes. Okay. Yep, I agree that there's probably different microbes all over the place. Hell, there's asteroids flying in with, aminos and proteins and microbes. So they're coming from space and deep space in some cases. And they bring those things here. Could be some of the building blocks for us. Who knows? That would be crazy if anything did. Yeah, it would be. But, it seems like life finds a way. I don't know. I wouldn't probably hold my breath because even if it was there on the sun, there's no way we would be able to tell. we just don't have the ability to go there and study anything. Yeah, I got that. So yeah, it's a cool article. I think that's kind of cool, just as food for thought. I think they'll probably discover microbial life on Mars and maybe even more advanced life. I don't know. I do suspect there was something on Mars at least millions of years ago that got destroyed somehow. And it really looks in some places like there are foundations. There are, there's the big face, of course, and the structures near that. It looks like structures. And there's lots of anomalous photos from Mars that at least could imply that there was something there at one time. I don't know if they're still there or if they went underground and that's where they're hanging out now. I don't know. It's quite a boatload of possibilities, really. But all we can do is just keep questioning and keep looking. Good article though. I like that one. What was this one? Oh, that one's that. Okay, so I think that's interesting stuff. 7:48. We kind of got a little more time. There was one more thing I was gonna possibly read. Oh, I know what I was gonna read. Let me see if I can find it here. No. Not there. I don't know if I thought I pulled it up and moved it over, but I must not have. Well, if I can't find it, we can go to something else, but we can go to the cryptids, I guess. But I did want to take a look at something else. That's weird. Okay. No, I can't find it. I don't know. I thought I pulled out something else, but I don't know what I did with it. Unless I put it in a tab below or something by accident. Yeah, there should have been 2 articles I had ready to go, but that's okay. It happens. I got a tab farm here. It's literally about 40 open tabs at any given time. And I don't know. Like I said, aren't the planets and moons alive already? I think they are. I think there's a consciousness to all things. I think you're right, Jason. It might not be a robust consciousness like us, but again, if it comes from the divine, there's a consciousness, right? Because it's all divine in nature. It's all connected to that. I think even, and it sounds maybe really silly to some people, but I think even stones have a consciousness, and certainly trees and plants do. It's crazy the stuff that, I don't know how robust consciousness is, and it seems to be in a lot of places we didn't normally think of it, especially like plants. I think for a lot of people that was a huge thing to learn that plants really seem to be aware of their environment and what's going on in it. Case in point, there seems to be communication between plants to some degree. There seems to be an awareness of people, surprisingly. Like they can recognize when a person walks into a room. And that to me just blows me away. It's like, my God, they can know that? And you don't think of that when you think of plants. Like they got leaves and the leaves brown and they get weird and you pull them off or you clip the plant or, you're trimming it. And meanwhile, the plant's going, God, stop it. But we don't think of it that way. We think of it, well, I want the plant to look like this. So you clip it and you pin it and you probably tie it and you make it how it looks, how you want it to look. And then to find out that no, plants are very aware of that stuff. And you got to wonder, do they feel pain? That's what I'm not sure. Or maybe it's not pain as much as it recognizes damage. It probably doesn't feel it in a painful kind of way, but it's probably a different kind of way. Like it knows that it's being damaged, and it doesn't like it, obviously, because I think that's ingrained in life. Anything alive doesn't want to be, damaged or hurt by anything else. But again, if for some of you who might be newer to the show, I've talked about it several times on the show, but I remember Mythbusters back in the day did a thing with the plants. And they were all like, there's the myth that plants, singing to your plants and being nice to them really helps them grow. And so they were testing the theory that plants, respond to the emotion. And so they wired up a room full of plants, and they had one guy, Grant, go in, and he was just kind of neutral. And then I think the Carrie lady came in, and she was all loving and sweet to the plants and saying nice things and, trying to be loving, I guess, and compassionate to the plants. And then the last guy, the Tory guy, he came in and I'm chuckling because it's like, oh my God. He came in and just beat the hell out of one of the plants with a stick, just thrashing it. Just thrashed it mercilessly until it was like just a bunch of fallen leaves and a couple stems. And then he walked out. And they had all these plants, set to look for responses to all this stuff. And there seemed to be some responses. But the interesting thing is later, all 3 of them in turn walked in and out of the room. When Grant walked in, there was almost no response. He's the Asian American guy. And when Carrie came in, they seemed to have a response, like, almost, I don't know how they would regard it, but they had them, hooked up with like EEGs or whatever, and they could tell that it was more of a pleasurable response when she came into the room. But when the Tory guy came back, like all the plants registered like a fear response. Like they know they were witness to this murder, And it's like, oh my God, plants could be aware of that. So, Diane says, you're telling me this tonight when I'm planning to trim my rose bushes tomorrow? You're supposed to trim them in February. Well, it's probably good for them. Just talk to them when you're doing it. Like, oh, I'm sorry I got to do this, but you're making you beautiful. I don't know. I'm just trying to be supportive here. I don't know. I don't know. I get guilty when my plants die. I do too. I don't like it. I think that's whatever that, they are. And I don't pretend to know the amount of consciousness a plant has, but they are alive. And I think that if you're caring for something alive, you should really care for something alive. And I think one of my pet peeves is when, people have a plant and they just don't water it and they don't take care of it. And it's like this, this captive in the corner chained to the wall. It can't get to the water. It can't move. It can't get its own nutrition and stuff. So you got to bring it to them. But it's pretty crazy. You can look that up about Mythbusters. And I'm paraphrasing the whole episode. And I'm sure there was maybe more, or maybe it was a little bit different than what I'm saying. But I got the basic gist of it. Anyway. So I just thought that was amazing. And I remember the responses were like, oh my God, it's real. And they were all stunned, all three of them. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Because I've heard, talk nice to your plants. Some plants, people play them classical music and, things like that to create a peaceful environment. And I guess it all works. And maybe that's akin to, like the classical music might be akin to the birds singing. That the birds, there's some who say that when the birds sing in spring, it actually stimulates the plants. Like they're hearing that sound and they know to stimulate their growth and their, emergence into spring. So I think it's powerful. And especially the way that there's this symbiosis between things is just so amazing. And it really makes me think, how could all this stuff be random? How could this just all have happened as a random event in the universe in a primordial soup somewhere? It's just like, my God, it's so balanced and perfect. That's my take on it. I don't pretend to tell you should think the same way, but to me, it's just like there's such a synchronicity and such a balance that exists naturally. And maybe that's just an ecosystem. I don't know, but to me, it really seems to imply, man, this stuff must have been thought out somehow, or we're in a simulation, and it's all part of the program. Maybe the plants are spying on us. All right. Time for the next libation, which is another bottle of water. All right. Look up water science and you'll see how important speaking kind words are. Yeah, there was a scientist, I think he was out of Japan. I might be wrong, but he tested snowflakes. And he would use different emotions for each snowflake as it was freezing or crystallizing water, the water as it crystallized, freezing as it froze. He would use different emotional responses to each, and there was a very measured difference in the snow in the crystallization that occurred. Like in the ones where they were kind and loved, it was this beautiful pattern, and the ones that were more indifferent were just kind of plain but balanced. But on the ones with the hate, it was just ugly. These snowflakes were ugly. It didn't work well at all. So Chucky's right. There does seem to be a correlation to water as well. So is there a consciousness in water? Well, if maybe not a consciousness, it definitely receives the emotional stimulus around it. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's thinking like, hey, that guy's a jerk. Screw him. This is an ugly snowflake. But it may mean that those negative emanations affect everything around us, but we're able to measure it in a snowflake, how it forms. And so that's very crazy. Oh, Lucky Gypsy. Wonderful. Thank you, Lucky Gypsy. Very kind of you. Really appreciate it. Wonderful show tonight and chat. Thank you, Lucky Gypsy. Very cool. So consciousness is important. So, be kind. Be kind to everything. Be kind to your home, your dwelling, your people people you meet. I think it's, spread the love. God knows the world needs it more now than ever, at least in my lifetime. Wow. It is a mess out there, folks. Got to spread the love. All right, let's move on. We're going to get to the cryptids now, as I've been running my gums here for a while. We should tell every sip we take something good. Well, there's the thing with blessing the water, too. Blessing the water. However you pray or whatever your religious outlook is, or observations are, ask the water to be blessed to you, and perhaps then it will be. So, all right. And of course, like with things like moon water, that's used in Wicca and other witchcraft and other practices, or holy water, or any other such types of waters that are imbued with spiritual intent. There is a process to that includes prayer of some kind, or emanations of some good and highest good, and I think it's great stuff. I think it's amazing. Finally, so Brent just said cryptids. I got him on a big TV, and I can comment on my phone without stopping the show. Tell me I'm all caught up with cryptids. Love them. Yeah, actually, Sam, we were just going to start with the cryptid corner now, so you're just in time. Great. Great to have you here. Neil says I'm 60% vodka. Well, maybe vodka's conscious too. We don't know. Yes, I was listening to something to say grace before eating. It was interesting. Now, I will tell you that, speaking of my cousin Paul, his mom was really an important person in my life in many, many ways. She was like another mother to me. She was just really a guide in many ways spiritually for me. And she talked about, it was actually a conversation with him, but he told me about a study that was done looking at the differences between food that was blessed and food that it wasn't. And apparently there was some marked molecular difference in the foods that were blessed versus the ones that weren't. So it's interesting that it can actually have possibly a physical ramification on the food that was going to be consumed versus food that was not blessed. And so I think that's incredible. And it certainly speaks to the power of, prayer or religious observation, having faith. I think it can be amazingly powerful. So very cool. Be kind to a homeless person no matter, yep, absolutely. Matter of they use substances, it's been crappy out there. Yeah, very cool. That's very cool, Grumpy Owl. I do outreach and help them out with basic stuff. Wow, that's amazing. Good for you. Good for you. I'm glad that they've got you. That's very nice. I'm just way behind in chat here, so I'm just trying to catch up. Heck yeah, happy to be here. I've been stalking for over a year, Sam says. Wow. Decided it was time to start talking. Just tell me when it's time to shush. Sam, go ahead and say whatever you like. This is the chat. You guys, the chat's always rolling. You guys just keep having your conversations. I'll just keep telling you stuff. No way, Brent. Wow. Yeah, true, Maggie. Looking. They are all people just like everyone else. Absolutely, Chucky. Yeah, I think especially in the cold like this, I mean, my God, do what you can to help. I mean, I know it's tight for everybody. It's tight, really tight for me. And we're all just doing the best we can to survive ourselves. But we still got to be thankful because, if you got a roof, you're way, way, way ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, Sam. Everybody's happy to have you here. So, very cool. All right. It's Paranormal Water tonight. Hey, Jesse Garcia, good to see you. It is, well, it's just a paranormal night here all the time. It's, there's no flow chart to these shows. They just go where they go, and I just do my best to keep up. Sometimes I'm just throwing out, articles and things like that and little discussion points. And sometimes we sit here and just throw ideas back and forth to the chat. And I like this. This is kind of a newer thing that we haven't plugged in a lot on the show. I mean, we're always trying to be responsive to chat as much as we can, but it's hard for me to watch the chat and read at the same time, obviously when I'm alone. So I want to take little breaks and look at what you guys are saying because I don't want to miss anything. All right, so let's get into the cryptids. I guess that's a good place to go right now. And we're going to start again with Sasquatch Chronicles because Wes posted a new one today. And by God, hot off the Sasquatch Chronicles presses, we're going to get to that now. All right, here we go. SasquatchChronicles.com. Please check it out. Support what Wes is doing over there as well, not just this podcast, which is amazing. But the article tonight is, oh, wow, hold on. The article tonight is from February 3rd, so it's today old, and it says, it stepped out 3 feet in front of my truck. Wow. A listener writes, this happened in 1976. I was 16 years old, and I went up to Ohio from Kentucky to stay with my cousin. February of that year, I quit school. Another story there in itself. Anyway, the day I quit, my old man told me I'm going to get a job and to go work and pay them. What does that say? Him and Ma, $50 a week. So he had to go get a job and pay his mom and dad $50 a week, which is what I did. Got a job the next day after I left school. They, either him or Ma, were taking me to work until I got my license, which was about a month or so after I quit. Anyways, after I got my license, the old man had a 65 Chevy C10 pickup, and he told me to drive that back and forth to work. About midsummer of that year, I'd been working and driving for a spell, and he told me I could pay him $25 a week and the truck would be mine. Total of $200, which is quite a bit for a kid like me back then. Anyhow, it must have been about August of 76. I'd done paid him back for the truck, maybe around the end of August 76. Anyway, I decided to take off and go to Ohio and stay with my cousin. We were both into fishing then. He had been since we were 10 or 11. So I went to Ohio, and when I got there, we started going over to this state park. Houston Woods, it looks like H-E-U, if that's right, or it's H-O-U, I don't know. And there was a big reservoir in that middle of that park full of fish. By this time of the year, summer was winding down, and all the tourist vacationers and all that were gone for the year. So we could get up pretty much every morning and drive over to Houston Woods and fish all day. We'd been doing that for probably close to 2 weeks straight. We'd get there about 9 of a morning and stay until late at night every night. Anyway, like I said, we've been doing this for about 2 weeks straight. And this one night, we packed up and started heading home. His house, my aunt and uncle's house, anyway. I was driving, of course, and we were headed out of the park. I came around this sharp curve in the road. It was a 10-mile-an-hour curve, according to the sign, but as I got around to the other side of the curve, this huge, black, hairy creature, looked black anyway. It was dark, but it stepped out onto the road just 3 feet or so in front of my truck. I had to slam on the brakes, otherwise I would have hit it. This damn thing was huge, real huge. The top of the cab of my truck was at least 6 feet from the ground, and this thing was at least 2 feet above that, maybe more. But me and my cousin looked at each other at the same time and said, WTF? I just froze up. The first thing I thought was monster. I didn't think Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or any of that. To me, it was a monster, but it never once looked at us or in our direction. Wow, it just didn't care. It was focused straight ahead as if it was on a mission or something. About 3 steps, I'd say, and it was across the road and into the woods on the other side and gone. Damnedest thing I ever saw. But as it got to the other side of the road, my cousin was hollering, go, go, go. So I put the pedal to the metal. But wasn't a few days after that, my cousin wouldn't even talk about it. Wow. Again, those are such weird cases. Because, generally speaking, these things avoid people, right? But in this case, it went out of its way just to be right in front of them. And I don't know, maybe that's a territorial thing. Maybe it was like, sick of these people. I'm going to make them stop. And it just stepped out there and was like, nope, I'm not going nowhere. And you know what I mean? It's almost seems territorial. Like it wanted them to have to submit to it in a sense. I don't know. I can't think of any other reason, because why? Why would a creature and creatures that go out of their way to not be known by humans and not to be recognized, not to be heard, not to be seen, suddenly just like, here comes a truck. Yeah, it's go time. And then that's when they step out. It had to have heard the truck coming. When you're out in the woods, you can hear a car coming from a mile away easy. I used to hear cars coming all the time from way like a mile or two when I was back in Minnesota up in the woods. You know, it was like you could always hear them come. So I know this didn't surprise the thing. It just, whoa, where'd the hell did this big truck come from? It's just it seems so contrary, but there's got to be a reason they do it. There's got to be a reason they do it. I don't know. It's crazy stuff, but we don't know much about them. I would hit the brake I would hit the brake like on the TV too, but it doesn't have a keyboard. What? Karen's saying something. I don't know what she's talking about. Sorry. I was trying to understand. I watch and listen to the TV, chat on the phone. Oh, okay. Karen watches on the TV and chats on her phone. That's neat. My cats like to stare at the screen when the portal is on. Oh, that's funny. I hope that's a compliment, Karen. I hope that's a compliment. The darn kitties. They're the darndest things. Well, I like that story. Special thanks to Wes again and Sasquatch Chronicles for letting us peruse his stories. That's really cool. All right, now we're going to go over to, of course, Phantoms and Monsters. This is our friend Lon Strickler's site. And which one are we on? This one? Yeah. Hold on a second. I think I pulled that one up twice. Let me look. I got to look quickly. See if I didn't pull up the same one. Well, I mean, if we did, I'll see it when we get to it. I don't think I did, though. But this one was one that we bumped into last night, and people were like, oh, Loveland Frog. And I was like, well, come back tomorrow night. Well, tonight's the night, because we're going to be visiting phantomsandmonsters.com. This is Lon Strickler's site. Wonderful site, full of thousands of encounter stories as well, and a lot of research that Lon and his associates are doing around the country, and also Lon's published works, as well as Phantoms and Monsters Radio, which is his podcast and YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube, if you're on YouTube, check out Phantoms and Monsters Radio. That's Lon's show, and it's a great show because it's Lon talking about a lot of these stories as well, and they go into topics as well. And Lon is so knowledgeable; it's just a pleasure to listen to. So support what Lon's doing because he's working hard over there. He's been at this for decades, literally. All right, this is the story. Again, phantomsandmonsters.com, January 25th. Did the Loveland Frogman return? Now, this is an older story, not this story necessarily, but the original Loveland Frogman stories were, God, I don't know, were they the 70s or even older? But some people would just see these like 3-foot frog people or right around 3 or 4 foot, like frog people by this swamp or this backwater area. And it was I think it was by a bridge was where I recall. That people kept seeing, or several people saw these frog people or frog man. Maybe it was only one of them, but it was sighted a few times over a period, and then that was it. It was like they just kind of stopped. All these sightings stopped. So is it made a resurgence? Did it come back? What's going on? Well, let's find out. A married couple buys a house along the Little Miami River in Loveland, Ohio. She soon starts to experience an unknown being on the property. Did the infamous Loveland Frogman return? And Lon says, I received the following account from a woman who had a strange experience while living in Loveland, Ohio. We bought a little house down by the Loveland Castle Museum back in 2000. It was perched above a ravine and creek, and the back of the house dropped off very steeply. There would have been enough room for a man or a bipedal person to stand up behind the house, but the basement windows were eye level, and the first floor was quite far up and from the place where one could stand. The reason I point this out is that because it was a very small house, we had to use the basement for our 2 boys' bedroom. They kept complaining that something kept looking in the window at them, and my husband and I laughed it off at first. It was a wooded setting, very rural and beautiful, and very dark at night, having no streetlights out there, so it seemed funny that they were thinking something was watching them. We just told them that maybe it was a deer. They were plentiful in the fall, and we went about our business. One night, however, I woke up hearing a weird sound just outside our bedroom window on the first floor. It faced out back of the house, and I was puzzled as to what it could be because it sounded like a man, breathing heavily. And then I started to sit up and realize that whatever it was looking in my window just inches from my head, and I was terrified. I did not look out because I knew that I would see it, and I kept feeling something urging me to look. We would often hear squeaking noises, screeching, not like an owl, and a crying baby. I woke up my husband and he said whatever it was, it would have to be 10 feet tall to look in our window. I couldn't sleep that night, but whatever had been there had moved on. I didn't mention it to the kids the next day. Probably a good idea. The boys came up from the basements, shaken from seeing the red glowing eyes the night before. And they were every bit as big as red road reflectors. And they heard the heavy breathing, and the hair on their bodies stood up on end. This was only one of the experiences we had out there in Loveland. It's right down by the Little Miami River, only a stone's throw. Many weird things out there, green glows, orbs, something very large and black on top of the roof of the house very late at night. When light was shown on it, it did not go through whatever it was on the roof, and it looked like a huge dark figure, like a Bigfoot maybe. I'd like to know if you have any more weird stories about this area. We moved a few miles away, but still go past that area often. So it doesn't really sound like the Frogman, but Lon says, I assume that CF was not aware of the Loveland Frogman sightings. I probably need to describe the incidents, and here's the actual incidents from, it's the 50s. The first sighting was May 1955, around 3:30 a.m. An unnamed businessman claimed that he was witnessed 3 bipedal quasi-reptilian entities congregating by the side of the road, and later on March 3rd, 1972, at around 1 a.m., an anonymous police officer was traveling along Riverside Road, heading towards Loveland when he came across a frog-like creature on the side of the road. A few weeks later, on March 17th, 1972, Officer Mark Matthews reported pulling over to assist an injured animal on the side of the road, and upon approaching the creature, Officer Matthews was startled by a strange frogman-like creature. The story of the Loveland Frogman begins on a barren stretch of a road that runs along Little Miami River on Claremont County, just on the outskirts of the small town of Loveland, Ohio. This would probably be in the approximate area where CF lived. Around 3:30 a.m. in May of 1955, an unnamed businessman claimed to witness 3. Yeah, I already said that, side of the road. The businessman pulled over to the curb and observed the creatures for what he estimated to be about 3 minutes. He went on to describe the creatures as being between 3 and 4 feet tall, covered in leathery skin, and having webbed hands and feet. Perhaps the most distinguishing characteristic of these creatures, however, was their distinctly frog-like heads, which the businessman reported to have deep wrinkles where their hair should have been. As the anonymous businessman watched the 3 frogmen, one of the creatures suddenly held up with what the witness described as some kind of wand above its head, and he further claimed that sparks spewed out at the top of the wand, and upon witnessing this strange sight, the businessman fled the scene, fearing for his life. The next documented encounter with the Loveland Frogman occurred approximately 1 a.m. on March 3rd, 1972, when a police officer who chose to remain anonymous was traveling down Riverside Road heading towards Loveland. The officer claimed that he was driving slowly due to overly icy roads when he saw what appeared to be a dog on the side of the road, and suddenly the creature darted out in front of his cruiser, causing the officer to slam on the brakes to avoid hitting the unknown animal. When the cruiser came to a stop, the headlights fell upon the crouched frog-like creature. Even in winter, wow. You'd think if it's amphibian, that wouldn't be right, but anyway. Quickly, the creature stood up on 2 legs and stared back at the officer. Its eyes illuminated by the high beams, and scrambled over the guardrail, down the embankment, and finally vanished into the Ohio River. The officer described the creature as being 3 or 4 feet tall and weighing in the area of 50 to 75 pounds. He also stated that the skin had a leathery texture and that the animal resembled that of a frog or lizard. Later that evening, another officer returned to the scene but found no signs of the animal, but did report that there were distinctive scratch marks on the guardrail that the creature reportedly scrambled over. Another sighting by police officer Mark Matthews had an encounter of his own 2 weeks later. According to Officer Matthews' report, he spotted what he believed to be an injured animal on the pavement while driving into Loveland. Matthews stepped out of his cruiser to remove the injured animal from the ice-slicked road. As Officer Matthews got close to the body, the creature lurched upwards into a crouch position. Startled by the strange creature's frog-like appearance, Matthews drew his gun and fired at the creature. The wounded frogman limped to the side of the road and slid over the guardrail. Officer Matthews' description of the frog-like creature matched that of other officers' sighting 2 weeks prior. Years after the original sighting, Officer Matthews has somewhat changed his story. He now claims that the creature he saw that night was nothing more than a large reptile that had escaped from its owner. He further insisted that the reason he shot at the creature was to help confirm a fellow officer's story. Whether or not Matthews changed his story due to ridicule or fading memory or of an event that took place one dark night on an icy road outside of Loveland, in the many years following this small string of sightings, there have been no reported sightings of the strange creatures that have become known as the Loveland Frogmen. That's interesting. Now, those are all fantastic, but I don't know that they're one and the same. Because whatever they're describing was able to look in that basically about a 10-foot window, which doesn't sound like a 3 or 4 foot creature could do that, unless they're tree frogmen and they can suck onto houses and wood and stuff. But it didn't sound like that. They could crawl up but the red eyes that are as big as reflectors, that's reported in a lot of Sasquatch sightings. How big their eyes are is one of the big takeaways of witnesses that have seen the glowing eyes. Another is, of course, it was big. And then, of course, the big figure that was on the roof, which, was there. It was all black. Well, that would match with a lot of Sasquatch reports. So it wasn't a diminutive figure that these first people experienced at all. So I don't think it was probably one and the same. It is interesting it's in the same area. But then again, it's Ohio. God, everything is there. They've got the grass man, Bigfoot grass man. They've got UFO stuff. They've got all kinds of cryptid stuff. And, we've heard from many witnesses there. Personally, I've talked to, I think it was, who is it? James that I interviewed on the podcast. I think it was James. Anyway, my dyslexia for names, but yeah, he had several different examples of that, including large insects when he was fishing and stuff. So that's crazy stuff, whatever it is. And I don't know about it, but these people experienced something, and it sounds like they ran into a Bigfoot to me, not a frogman or whatever. But so that's my take on it. But let's go to the next one. I want to check the time too and see what we're doing here. See how we're doing. God, it's already 8:21. How did we get to 8:21 already, folks? The time just flies. All right, let's go to the next one from Phantoms and Monsters. This is from February 3rd, so it's today old. This is one that I just pulled up. Lon just posted it over on Paranormal Portal fans page, and I was like, oh, cool. Bipedal dog like cryptid encountered near Tonmawr. I guess that's how you'd say that. Wales. Over in Wales. You don't hear of a lot of Dogman reports over in Wales or in the UK. But God only knows, they seem to be everywhere. I think of the two, Dogman seem to be more almost ethereal, like otherworldly, than Bigfoot do to me. Because I don't know that you rarely hear about like baby dogmen being seen, being carried by a mother or with a mother or anything. I don't know that I've ever heard any stories like that, but you do hear stories of Bigfoot carrying babies and stuff, and also some alleged videos, including the Freeman footage, which I, as it's been, it's, you got to go out and learn, look for it. But in Michael Freeman's latest interviews, he spent some time with some of his dad's, which is Paul Freeman's footage, and they did some upscaling. Doug Hijack was the former producer of Monster Quest, which was on TV, and he also has Doug Hijack has his own show. God, what is it called? Again, names. I of all the dyslexias to have, this is the one I just don't like that I can't remember names well. Is it? I forget the name of his show, but it's actually good. He and his son do it, but why can't I remember it? Untold Radio. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, saved the day. I mean, I've watched it tons of times, and Doug is seems like an amazing guy. I've not met him personally, never talked to him, but he just seems like such a down-to-earth, neat guy, and such a great level of experience in all of this. He's been at this cryptid stuff for forever, really, and now his son Alex is involved as well. But yeah, they upscaled Michael Freeman's dad Paul's footage, and we're able to see that there's seems to be very clearly a baby Bigfoot being carried in some of that footage. So great stuff. But you never hear of a baby Dogman. At least I never have. Now, again, Dogman stuff, I'm not able to listen to a ton of shows just because of time. But, I'd love to listen to more Dogman stuff. But I don't recall ever hearing about little Dogmen being observed. But anyway, let's go to this one. Bipedal dogman like cryptid encountered in Tonmore, Wales. A Welsh boy is in the local forest when he comes face to face with a bipedal dog-like creature. It's leaning against a tree and staring at the witness. The youth immediately ran home. The following account was forwarded to me. It says, I live in southern Wales, UK. Now, admittedly, we aren't known for our cryptids, more known for ghosts, which I don't believe in. Wow. I think that's 30-year-old man, maybe. I don't know what a 30 man is otherwise. And live in a remote area. In the past, I've hunted and eaten rabbits. However, I no longer do this as I can't hurt animals anymore. The largest native animal we have is the red deer. For many years, there have been news articles of large cats in our area, possibly puma or panther, that had grown too large for their owners, and I live in an area close to Tonmore, Wales, and there's a creature sighted frequently called the Beast of Tonmore. A police officer who is a close friend of my family told of an encounter with said beast. However, the creature I encountered that day when I was 11 years old was neither a large cat nor a red deer. I'd been playing with my cousins as children who lived in the valley. Exploring the trees, forest, rivers, and valleys was the norm. My cousin, who lived barely 2 miles from my house, had asked me to go for a walk and explore, as our parents, related in some distant ways, sat, spoke, and ate. My cousin was a lot thinner and more agile than me, and while exploring the forest, barely a mile from his home, I lost sight of him rather quickly. I'm not sure what made me turn to my right. I heard no sound or caught no glimpse in the corner of my eye, but I turned and glanced. There in the tree line, maybe 20 feet from me, was a creature I could only explain as a bipedal dog. Werewolf isn't the word. This was, sure as day, a dog. It was leaning against the tree, using one paw to steady itself. And as I looked at it, the creature pushed off from the tree and stood in a way that was terrifying and threatening at the same time. A stance I knew immediately as aggressive, though I couldn't say why. It was run away or die. Even at 11 years old, I knew that. I ran with tears streaming all the way back to my cousin's home. When my younger cousins returned, they scolded me for my imagination getting the better of me. I know what I saw that day. I'm 31 now, and I'll remember the sheer helplessness I felt in that creature's presence for the rest of my life. The world is a scary place. Never underestimate it. And that's the story. Wow. So that's weird. I don't know what he means by dog, though. Was it like a German Shepherd looking thing, or was it like a beagle looking thing, or I don't know. I wish he would have been more descriptive, because that leaves a lot to understand. Huh. Terrier teen. Yeah, maybe it's a Chihuahua head. The Chihuahua headed forest dog. I don't know. Whatever it was. What if it looked like a pug? That'd be almost adorable, though, wouldn't it? What you doing there? Just throw a stick. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Maybe you could just throw a stick and they'd be fine. Because if it's dog-like, maybe that would work. But if it's more wolf-like, probably not. Probably not gonna get a wolf off your tail by throwing a stick. All right. So anyway, I don't know. It's anybody's guess. But yeah, I'd love to have known what it looked like. What did this person see? So all we got is that it was a dog. We don't even know how tall it was. Was it the size of a normal dog, or was it much bigger? I don't know. There's a lot of questions on that one, but it's interesting. I wasn't there. I believe the person saw something that absolutely freaked him out, and probably something that looked like a dog, but what kind of dog? No idea. All right, moving on. The next one. This one was interesting, and I just pulled this up. It's not really cryptid, but it's just bizarre. This one is from today as well. Star Wars type UFO UAP recently photographed in Paris, Kentucky. Think of Paris, you think France, but nope, it was Kentucky. All right, I don't know which type, but is that it, kind of? That kind of looks like an X-Wing, but... Oh, sorry, I don't mean to yawn. I just didn't sleep well last night. On December 22nd, 2023, the Alien Skies Facebook group uploaded a photograph taken by a person named Chris Boone. The UFO UAP resembles a craft from the Star Wars franchise. Boone had been outside his Paris, Kentucky home on the evening of December 21st, 2023, when at around 9:52 p.m., and noticed something odd in the evening sky. He decided to take out his phone and record it, and the image he captured seems to show an unknown object that looks eerily similar to the UT-60D U-Wing. Wow, I don't even know what those are. Starfighters, support craft made famous in the popular Star Wars movie franchise. Huh. Well, that is interesting, isn't it? That's bizarre. Unless, well, no, I don't know. Because it's really not there. I was just wondering about afterburners, if that could be the afterburners, but there does seem to be some connection here. Just the way the sun is there. This obviously is a light flare, a lens flare, but this is weird. And there's the craft they're talking about. Yeah, kind of similar. It says in the comments, some of the more skeptical types thought it might be some type of secret military craft. The fact that it has a contrail leads me to believe it's something we have made. Donna Atkinson Myers wrote, speed, angle of attack, the right temps can cause contrails, not just hot exhaust. Contrail would indicate that it's most likely in the atmosphere, going with the clean your lens, get a better camera, noted Daniel Trowell. One thought that it might be Chinese balloons. Other commenters cheekily suggest that it might be Santa or the Amish. It's easy to see that that is the bottom view of Santa's sleigh. The runners are reflecting the light from the moon, wrote Chuck Morley. Amish weather drones, added John Grube. Jeff Jenkins wondered, maybe Skylab. I think that already crashed. User Darlene Hunt claims to have observed the same object the day before. I got pictures of it right outside of Millersburg, Kentucky on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023. It's a little after 11 a.m., and it kept circling. When I got to Paris, I saw it up there. A woman by the name of Betty Lou claims to have taken photos of a similar object over her Atlanta, Georgia home, and she posted in the group so that people could compare them. Now that is really similar. This one seems to have something possibly there. And this one has a third thing there. Some sort of phallus. It's a fallacy. In her image, 3 lines appear in the sky. It is unclear what the lines are, but it does look somewhat similar to Boone's object. Yeah, it does. I don't know. It's crazy. Could it be experimental craft? Sure. I mean, it just seems like really aggressive rocket boosters, to be honest with you. I wonder if it was, is it possible that it was something of Elon's, some SpaceX thing that was going up? And I don't know. I don't know what they're launching, but I know they use they do those 2 breakaway boosters, and perhaps it's those just coming back down or going back to where they got to go to land. I don't know. Because I know he's recycling those boosters, so that's pretty cool. He's reusing them, but different story. I don't know. I don't believe it's the Star Wars people coming. But it is interesting all the same. So what do you guys think of those? Interesting, maybe? A little bit? I think so, too. I spent my whole life trying to find answers to these questions. And I know less now than I did when I was 5, but I do have a lot of fun in terror. Yeah, me too, Sam. It's been pretty much my whole journey, trying to understand this weird stuff, if that's what you're talking about. Grumpy all does, the AI stuff. Yeah, that's some of those are available in the Discord if you guys want to check them out. Really cool stuff. Wow, good job. 2.7 thousand views on your Dogman stuff. Very good. Others are maybe 200 or less. I know that's the trouble with social media. Some things will hit and some things will just never hit. I don't know why. I don't know what the Amish comment was either, Chucky. I don't know. They just need a belly rub. RJ's talking about the Dogman, the actual doggy man, whatever it was. They just need a belly rub. That could be. I'm not gonna be putting my hand out there though. Been spending most of my life living in an Amish paradise. Hezekiah brought the dirt from the barn. I'm just kidding. I actually really respect the Amish. I think it's pretty cool that they still to this day live the same life as their ancestors. I think it's pretty cool. It's it's a look back at history. It's just a living history, but they really honor their traditions. Very cool. I need to check out your art. Yeah, go over to the Discord and check it out. It's really good. Yeah, it's weird. I'm going to do Dogman puppies next. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think that'd be neat. And with an Adopt Me box, like put an Adopt Me box and then these Dogman puppies, Bring me home. I need a forever home. When I get there, I'm taking over. You never know. Yeah, it's the same for all of us, Digger. Yeah, it's just like here's the thing. Again, I've said this a million times. Before I started doing the show, I thought I knew it. I knew this stuff. But God, as soon as you start diving in and as soon as you start hearing from all of the witnesses out there and the things they've seen and the oddities and the strangeness, it's just like, man, I didn't know any of this stuff existed. And then it gives you a million more questions. So what was it I said yesterday? The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Am I the only one terrified of Dogman? No, I think that'd be absolutely horrible to run into a Dogman, Maggie. Dogman would be horrible. They of the 2 kinds of accounts, generally speaking, the major accounts, there's Bigfoot and Dogman. Those are the major cryptid accounts that people have. And there's no question that the Dogman accounts are way more aggressive and in your face aggressive. It's not like with Bigfoot, they'll lob stuff at you from a distance and stuff, but Dogman, if it's going to confront you, they get up and close and personal. Like they're in your space and looking absolutely like they want to eat your face. They don't, surprisingly, even with those displays. And I guess that would suggest a lot of intelligence, that they're not just these feral, automatons of some kind, but they seem to be very conscious and intelligent, but they definitely want it to stick. Like when they intimidate you, it's going to be for the rest of your life. It's going to be a memory you're never going to forget. It's just right in your grill. And I don't know. They just seem to have no fear of people, other than obviously they don't choose to just run around the communities during the day or whatever. But they do tend to be more nocturnal. But if they do encounter people, it doesn't ever seem to be a fear response. And so many accounts, even Linda Godfrey talked about this when she was on the show. She's like, people have shot these things to no effect. Shot them, and it's true. I've read so many stories where people have dumped large caliber rifles at these things. And they can hear the impacts, but see, these things don't even flinch. And generally they run away when you start shooting. But people know they're hitting. They can hear the impacts. Which is wild. I don't know how, because if your gun is blowing like that, how can you hear the difference between the actual firing and it hitting something? Because that's such an enormous noise. But apparently they have. I don't understand that. But it's very, very, very aggressive encounters with the Dogman. I like to say, if confronted by a Dogman, I'd never outrun it. Yeah, that's for sure. So stand there and observe. That's a good point. I've thought about that too. It's like my sprinting away from danger days are long over. And I've thought about this when I'm investigating too. It's like, I'm not going to be, flying down like flights of stairs to get away from something. So whatever happens is going to be in my face, and I'm just going to have to deal with it until it's done. And it's not like I couldn't get away, but it's just, man, my body's certainly not the same body I grew up with. So yeah, soul eaters are scary, freaky. I don't think they're necessarily to have around. Yeah. What are soul eaters? What is that? Is that a spiritual thing, or what do you mean by soul eaters? And I'm being sincere when I'm asking that. I'm not being funny. I don't like Dogman. You could say I'm definitely not an enthusiast about them. Yeah, Diane, I agree. Now I will say, obviously they show an incredible amount of restraint, because even though they are intimidating like that, they generally don't attack. And I can't say they never do, because some people go missing and we don't know what's going on with those people. Some people do claim that they've been attacked, but I don't know. When I had Vic Cundiff on the show one of the times, he talked about that, and he's like, in all of his years of doing this, he's only heard of 2 encounters that he believed were legitimate, where people were attacked in some way. So I'm more afraid of soul eaters. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about, RJ. What are soul eaters? It probably depends on the Dogman. St. Christopher was a dog-headed saint. Yeah, but he might have been a cynocephaly or one of those canid type warriors from the ancient world that are mentioned in a lot of ancient texts. Might not be the same thing as the Dogman that we observe today. I'd like to say if confronted by Dogman. Yeah, there you go. Maybe they're so grumpy because they're so misunderstood. Yeah, maybe getting in your face and growling is like, smelling butts for dogs. Who knows? I'm just saying. I don't know. Yes, those 2. Imagine getting shot at because of the way you look. Well, that's the other point. It's. But then again, if something's really ferocious and big, I don't know. I mean, I do. I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree with you. But at the same time, it's like most people that see them have never seen anything like that before in their life, and it looks like a monster. It looks like something straight out of a horror movie with a werewolf or something. And so people respond in kind. It's just like, well, in the movies they shoot at them, so that's what I'm going to do. Soul eaters are scary. Yeah, I do want to see what soul eaters are. I got to start scrolling here to catch up with the chat. My plan is to pretend to be a shrub. You can call me a piss bush. Because I'll be surrounded by a puddle of urine at my feet. Sorry. That was wildly inappropriate. I'm sorry, my filter's not quite engaged tonight, folks. Yeah, me as well. I have back in my mind a small theory about what they're all about. Being guardians, soldiers, etc. Yeah, there's some that suggest that they are guardians of portals, actually. Dogmen are alleged to be guardians of portals, and that was what I heard from Carrie Arnold, and he apparently heard it from a First Nations person. If I ever had the Dogman encounter, I definitely wouldn't be here to tell about it. I would just have to do whatever it was going to do with me, and I would faint. Yeah, I think a lot of us would, Diane. May as well, better than with no plan. There's people that do help ghosts cross over. Yeah, our very own Deb does that. Deb Varner, who's the Paranormal Portal psychic. She does some crossing over. Time for soul eaters to eat themselves. What is a soul eater? I heard about them from a Navajo guy's channel. I can't remember how to spell his name right now. Okay. Well, if you guys do run into that, I'd like to know more. Is that a cryptid or is that a spiritual thing? I just don't know. That's what I'd like to know. What are soul eaters? Yeah, me too, David. We'll find out though. I'll look into it myself, and we'll come up with some answers. If I'd ever seen a Dogman instead of Bigfoot, I would be living in a high rise in New York. Yeah, getting away from all the nature. I hear you, Elaine. Apparently, there's some vacancies there. I'm just saying. If it pretends to be a shrub to a Dogman, I'd probably end up with canine fluid sample on my clothes. Yeah, he'd be leaving some email for sure. Exactly, Rachel. I hope it's just a Navajo thing. Well, just because it's a Navajo thing doesn't mean it's just for them. It just means that they're familiar with the phenomena. It can still be for all of us, too. A spiritual creature that lives in the in-between, that hunts and eats the souls of everything good, evil, anything. Wow. That's not good. Yeah, I don't want to run into a soul eater either. Exactly, Rachel is playing devil's advocate. Look, it's proof I smell like a pet pad. Well, it would be a sample. At least you could bring in a sample. Have it tested, see what they can find out about it. I'm not letting anything eat my soul. Yeah, exactly. Bush straight from the dog part. Yellow leaves. Probably just browning leaves mostly from all the urine. I can't breathe. Maggie's having a good time. Good. I'll share a video on Discord in the ghost section that talks about them. Yeah, please do. Thank you, Grumpy Owl. Hey, Killing Reality. Oh, Killing Reality. Good. Yeah, Guardian of Graveyards. That's what I've heard about Dogman. You heard that too, Killing Reality? I think that's interesting. I'm not sure we get a choice in the whole soul eating thing. Yeah, I don't know. But there again, I think, if you're protected, you're protected. Even, if it's a spiritual thing, especially. But maybe to those that are not protected, and I mean, religious devotion or otherwise, there's lots of ways to protect yourself spiritually. So, I've heard of soul eaters with Harry Potter. Oh, you mean like the Dementors? Yeah, kind of like that, I guess. Yeah. Danke schön. You're probably right. Well, yep, very cool. I'm just catching up to the last cynocephaly with a tribe of dog-headed people. Probably just forgot our connection to them. Yeah. I don't know what happened to them. They were allegedly a very fierce warrior race. In fact, it was the legend was that when other battling factions would see armies with the cynocephaly included, like the cynocephaly were fighting with them, they would oftentimes just flee in fear because of how fierce and ferocious they apparently were in battle. But what happened to them? Why is there why is there no cemeteries of these things? Did they not have tribes? Or, I guess it's kind of the classical, why don't we have a Bigfoot body? Well, do they bury their dead? Yeah, well, a lot of us believe they do. Well, maybe the cynocephaly were buried too, but their graves don't look like ours, and we maybe passed by them. Now, they were never allegedly here in the Americas. They were over in, the Middle East and Europe is what I understand. But, yeah, very interesting, the cynocephaly. But, St. Christopher was the dog-headed saint. He was allegedly sometimes considered a cynocephaly as well. Was he? I don't know. Boy, look at the ghost radar. It's just bonkers. Yeah. There's a couple of ghosts that were just hanging out, apparently. That's interesting. Oh, you can't really see it here, can you? Oh, yeah, you can. There it is. It's just smaller. It was there, but look at that rough line. Look at that rough line there. That was, how long was that for? 27 seconds. They were hanging out for 27 seconds. There you have it, folks. Very cool. We're down to 9 minutes of the show left. Can you believe that? I like having these chats with you guys at the end of the shows, or at the tail end of the shows. It's nice to just kick back and, hear what your thoughts are on things and talk and respond to you. Because this has always been, these live shows have always been very much. Yeah, no sound from the Ghost Rider. No, it's not that it should have made a sound. It doesn't. It depends on the intensity of the presence. Like if it really makes that hissing sound, then allegedly it's something very powerful, like a very powerful disturbance. The other ones, like the yellow and greens, generally don't trigger that sound, but the red dots always do, and those are the really, really strong energies, apparently, according to what that application says. So they won't always hiss at us. Good to see you, Mercedes. Thanks for coming in. It's great to see you as always, and I really appreciate you coming in. How are we doing? We got about 55 people in here now. Woof. I guess we could do shout-outs quick. Why don't we do shout-outs and see who's here? Because a lot of you guys are chatting like crazy, so let's see how many of you are participating in the chat tonight. And let me pull it up, and we'll find out. Not a lot. Weird. It looks like more in the chat, but it's about 20 people. Barbara Mora, Chucky Danger, David Zeismer, Diane Fowler, Elaine Clifford, Grumpy Owl, Karen Alberding is there, Maggie M10, Neil is here. Good to see you, Neil, again. Great to see you. RJ Windwalker, Rachel Gets It Right, Ramon is here, and Mercedes came in. Good to see you, Mercedes. Wizard Moon and Killing Reality. Great to have you guys here. Thank you guys for all the communication and fun and the dialogue you guys bring to the shows is great too, especially on nights that I don't have co-hosts. This is perfect. Yay, bingo, we broke even on the likes. Yes, nice. Very nice. Very good. And let me restore that. But yeah, it's been a crazy journey this week. Weapons and armor beats squeak, toys, and bones. Well, we think so, Chucky, but in the case of Dogman, it doesn't seem like weapons have a lot of effect. I don't know why. Is that because maybe they're not really here? They're kind of in a different vibrational plane? I don't know. Again, it's hard to understand this whole transdimensional thing that people talk about. Are they a transdimensional being? Maybe. It's still an odd topic or an odd conversation. Jason G, did I not say you in the participants? Sorry. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you so much. Good to see you all. We're down to 6 minutes left, and of course, I'll be making an announcement probably in the next few days on Discord. So I want you guys to get involved over there if you're not already. Please feel free to join. I'll put a link in the chat right now to join the Discord. https://discord.gg/paranormal-portal. And there you go. That is the way to join the Discord. And yeah, RJ says everything could be killed. But it's also a way to join in on the discussions and to win a t-shirt if you are one of the lucky people to say, hey, pick me. I do the drawings. It's called the giveaways thread on Discord. Let me pull that up so you guys can see if you're in Discord. Let me do this. Okay, here's the Discord. And over here, right on the top, is giveaways. And this is where I'll make the announcement. And I just asked that if you're somebody that already won, please, don't keep re-entering yourself, because I'm hoping everybody eventually will win one. All of the active people on Discord. So, just say, hey, I'd like to win a t-shirt, after I make the announcement just in this thread. It's got to be in this thread. And, we'll announce it on Discord first. The minion will help me. He's been helping me on the last couple. And then we'll announce it here on the show as well. And then we'll do a giveaway for our YouTube members. So if you're a YouTube member, love to have you join up and do that. It's a great way to win a shirt eventually. And it's also a great way to, help support the show if you want to help support the portal. It's, largely doing these streams is largely, a labor of love for me. It's not, I don't really make anything from doing these streams, but I love doing the shows. And so it's just one way to help support what we're doing. Cause, there's expenses to all of this, and not only time and energy, but financial. But, if you want to help that with that, that's wonderful. There's a donate link on the bottom of your screen if you want to donate that way, if you can. Only if you can, though, please. I know I know a lot of us are living tight, and I would, feel horrible if you were trying to give just to be a part of that club, because, I just, your being here is enough for me, and liking the streams and sharing them if you could is awesome as well, just to spread the word, because, we've been doing this since 2017, and we're just nearing 13,000 subscribers now, which is wonderful. It's amazing. But we haven't done any of these big arcs upward. It's all been this steady incline, and it's good, because we're always going forward. But, any way you can help to spread the word is really appreciated, because, my ability to spread the word is limited, apparently. They go through portals, paranormal portals. Hopefully not this one. But anyway, that's pretty much what I got for you guys tonight. We're about down to the 2-minute mark, so we're nearing the finish line, believe it or not. It's gone quick. But I want to thank you all for being a part of the journeys with me. Thanks for chatting, all of you chatters, and thanks for all of you who are just hanging out, watching. That's wonderful. It means the world. And I love you all dearly. And if you would, before you leave, if you haven't already, we've got a lot of likes already, which is outstanding. Generally speaking, we're usually running at a deficit, but tonight we're pretty much on the mark. We actually have 58 likes with 55 people here. That means 3 people left. Great show as always, Brent. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. So I'll be back on Wednesday, of course. And please watch for the podcast. It'll be coming out Monday. And, check those out. Like those. If you are a podcast listener and you listen on places like iTunes or on wherever you're listening, if they have the ability to comment, leave a review, that's really appreciated as well. The podcast has been doing wonderfully, but sometimes I get these trolls that come in and just leave like 1-star reviews with, these really bizarre comments that some of which don't even actually correlate. Like one of them said, "This show is mega trash," MAGA, like I'm a huge Trump fan or something. And, which is, I never talk politics on this show, and I have no idea where that comment comes from. I think it's a garbage comment, but it's a review out there, a 1-star review that there's nothing I can do about. So if you can go out there and counter that review, I'd appreciate it. And more, there's a few others like that, but not many. We've got a lot of great reviews on iTunes, and I'm really thankful for that. So, but that's about what I got time for. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're going to wrap it up. I'm actually tired tonight, so I'm going to get some rest. Awesome show, bro. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate that a ton. You're a long-term brother of mine, so appreciate you stopping in, man. Appreciate you being here. All right, so anyway, thank you all for being here, being a part of the show, and thank you for all your love and support. If you're watching the stream while it's not live, would love a comment. That helps a ton, and the likes are wonderful as well, so keep them coming. And to all you guys, have a wonderful week ahead. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take your feet and kick them up and just relax. Summer's coming. It won't be long. It won't be long. So anyway, that's it. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.